Ambassador, do you welcome the peace talks or potential peace talks on the Iran war? Is that a basis for the deal on what you know at the moment?
Well, I heard some rumors that there is a conversation with the mediators that are discussing some points presented by the Americans. But our position is that, of course, it should be immediately stopped, and because it's aggression, definitely unprovoked and reckless, which has enormous consequences not only for the Middle East but for the whole world, I would say, for the economies. And as soon as they are going to stop it and coming back to the diplomatic negotiations, which has been interrupted, it will be the best outcome, of course.
And, you know, the intermediary at the moment is reportedly Pakistan. Does Russia see a role for yourselves in trying to bring about peace in Iran?
Well, you know, there are lots of rumors of some countries meeting in one place, then some delivering this mission to Pakistan, probably. So I cannot say this for sure. So we are not part of these negotiations.
Right, but you wanted to be, though, didn't you?
We are talking right now in the Security Council about the possible consequences of an operation in Hormuz Strait, but it's a different thing.
Russia wanted to be involved in intermediating talks, bringing about peace. You made an offer on the uranium stockpiles. Is that still standing?
Well, there was a conversation between President Trump and President Putin. They discussed some options. I cannot reveal the details here because it is not for the open media, I will say. But we are part of this process. In that sense, of course, we are part of this process.
But how would the uranium stockpiles that Iran has be safer in Russian hands than in Iranian hands?
No, the uranium stockpile, if you are talking about enriched, highly enriched uranium, there is no knowledge where it is now after the bombardment of the last year. So there is nothing to talk about.
Yeah, but it exists.
At least, well, earlier it was said that it exists, but then Americans were saying that they have almost crushed Iranian programs and everything what Iranian has in possession, so we do not know.
So if it doesn't exist or you don't know where it is, why did your leader offer to take control of this?
I haven't said that. I haven't said that. We have made this offer many years ago in the process of negotiations on this issue in Geneva, but now I cannot confirm the issue of the substance of the conversation.
What would Russia's role be in any peace? Because a lot of people think that it's in Russia's interest to keep this war going. The oil price going higher benefits Russia.
That is not true. Absolutely not, because we stand for a comprehensive model of peace, and we have in the Persian Gulf. We have designed a concept of this comprehensive peace when interests of every country will be taken into account, including Iran. And we have developed this model, and we distribute it in the Security Council, I guess, and in the other bodies relevant. So
Russia stands ready to be involved in these potential peace talks if Donald Trump makes the call?
I'm not sure whether he is today in one mood, the other day he is in the other mood. I can say that the dialogue between US and Russia continues.
Right, but there seems to be some less trust there. You don't know whether you can count on Donald Trump in the way that you might have done. You said one day he says one thing, one day he says the other.
No, I think that certain unpredictability is a feature of the current US administration.
Right, but you know about unpredictability. Russia deals with unpredictability.
No, I have said that we continue liaison, we continue talks on different subjects with the US administration.
You deny that it's in Russia's interest for the war in Iran to continue.
Of course not.
But you know, the US has lifted some sanctions on Russian oil. The European Commission delayed a ban on Russian oil imports. The rise in the oil price means that some are saying that Russia is the real winner from this war that's going on.
Well, first of all, of course, it is a long-term crisis that is affecting everybody now, including us. All these calculations about how much money we are earning, this is garbage, nonsense. I will tell you why. Because we have a rule established by the government that income coming from the selling oil, it's above a certain level or certain price, is going into the National Foundation of Well-being. This is a kind of a money pillow which we are keeping for crisis, for emergencies, and all of that. In the short-term period, we are slightly optimistic, but we do not exaggerate it. But in the long term, it is unpredictability of the whole situation. It depends on the longitude of the crisis and deepness of it. And despite all sanctions and limitations, we are of course still a part of world economy, and interruptions of investments, supply chain, and all of that stuff will affect our economy as well.
Right.
Of course.
So how does Russia play a role in reopening the Strait of Hormuz, which is doing such terrible damage to the world economy?
It can be done only by diplomatic means.
You talked about Russia having a role in that. What role do you see?
First of all, it should be a conversation, normal conversation between US and Iran on settlement, on finding a certain balance of interests and balance of understandings on which they can immediately stop the war over their military actions.
Does Russia see a role then in rebuilding Iran?
It is far from now to discuss that, but we are building over there the biggest nuclear power station, which is very important for Iran's economy. And we continue to do that during this period of crisis, of course. We removed some of personnel, of builders, over the engineers and so on, but it is called Bushehr, and it is very important for Iran's economy.
But after the last war last year, Russia helped Iran rebuild its missile stockpile, didn't it? A lot of people were surprised how quickly they rebuilt their stockpiles. Is that something that Russia would also help with Iran with?
There are lots of conversation about that, who is selling it to whom. Iran is providing Russia with the missiles, or Russia with it, so I'm not aware of anything about it.
Yeah, but last year the Iranian government accelerated negotiations with both Russia and China to procure advanced missile systems.
I can only say one thing, that we do have liaison and cooperation with Iran in different fields, and that includes military technical cooperation.
Right, so, I mean, that's a yes then. You would help them rebuild that stockpile.
The content is not known to me.
Right, but I mean, it nevertheless remains the case you're an ally of Iran, you remain an ally, and after this war is over, you could help Iran get ready for the next one.
We have a strategic partnership with Iran. It doesn't mean that we are allies in terms of defense or military things.
Your own leader has described Iran as a loyal friend and reliable partner.
That's absolutely right, but not as an ally.
So that's rather more, well,
there is a difference.
A loyal friend
in diplomatic language, and in the world of foreign affairs, it's a big difference.
Right, but one person's loyal friend is another's ally.
No, I wouldn't say that. You have alliance within NATO. There is special partnership between US, UK, US, and with South Korea and so on. So all of this is different things.
You've confirmed that you have a partnership with Iran. You have strategic interests with Iran. Doesn't that amount to what the UK Defence Secretary detected as Russia's hidden hand in this whole war? You know, providing Iran with intelligence, including the locations of US assets, and also helping them upgrade their drones. That is what Russia has done in this war.
Mr. Healy, your Defence Secretary, is making statements which mainly are invented by himself, without any knowledge of it, or without.
Yeah, but you're paid to invent things on behalf of the Russian government, though, aren't you? I mean, that is your role.
Excuse me?
You are paid to invent things on behalf of the Russian government.
I'm not inventing things on behalf of the Russian government, because this is a kind of unpleasant to hear it from you.
But I mean, that is part of your role, is to say what the Russian government tells you to say.
I'm delivering most of thinking of the Russian government. This is normal work for the ambassador in any country. Your ambassador in Moscow is delivering similar things, absolutely the political views of a government. He has done it, I would say, pretty straight.
Why wouldn't you share intelligence and technology, though, with a country that you describe as a loyal friend?
Look, I'm a diplomat. I'm not in the field of intelligence or something else. It is not my cup of tea at all, or cup of coffee. Yeah.
Well, in diplomatic terms, then, does Russia help Iran rebuild its leadership? Because, you know, the supreme leader, the new supreme leader, Mojtaba Khamenei, has not been seen in public. He's reportedly been injured. Some have suggested that Russia might have given him sanctuary. Is that the case? Might it be
There
the
is
case?
no sense in these things because it is being elected. The supreme leader of Iran is being elected, and there is this system which is elected. We have no role at it at all. No country will have a role in it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not an election as other people understand an election. But nevertheless, you know, would you give him sanctuary if he needed it?
We have congratulated him. My president, as far as I understand, he openly has congratulated him with this role that he is going to play.
Has Vladimir Putin spoken to him in recent days?
As far as I know, that he sent him a telegraph about speaking to him. It has not been announced.
So you don't know where he is?
No, I do not know.
But given Vladimir Putin has congratulated him, would Russia be prepared to give him a safe haven after this war is over?
I do believe that he will not need a safe haven because he will be a leader. Actually, the system is that Vladimir Putin is talking not mainly with the president of Iran, and that's an established line of communication.
Do you think that the US underestimated Iran?
Very much, absolutely. First of all, by the first strike, Iran will give up, and a regime will be changed with the first strikes by the United States. And second, underestimation or complete fault was that it will not have economical consequences. Both were wrong, and on that side, they have misled the allies, people from all countries of the Persian Gulf, and all of that. It is.
I want to check that I heard you correctly. You think Donald Trump was completely fooled by Iran? Did I hear that correctly?
No, I haven't said about fool something, but there was two mistakes in the estimating, in the general estimation of the consequences of that.
And Donald Trump says that Iran desperately needs a peace deal. Is that your estimation, that Iran desperately needs this, or does the US desperately need a peace deal?
I think that the U.S. needs this peace deal even much more than Iran, because Iran is now fighting for its cause. It is fighting for the country. What U.S. is doing over there, it's a big question. Since no clear goals has been designed, no clear goals has been established, and no exit strategy has been established, and actually people in the world, even experts, they do not fully understand why it has happened in the middle of talks, which could bring results. The damage was enormous, of course. The public in the United States, even in the UK, is not very supportive, I will say, not at all supportive for these actions. So now it is up to U.S. administration to decide and to understand how they are getting out of all this mess.
Do you think that peace in Iran could lead to peace in Ukraine?
These are two different and absolutely unparalleled things.
Are they? Because Russia's illegal war in Ukraine is a war of aggression in much the same way as you've described America's war in Iran.
These were our vital security interests in Ukraine.
Which is what US says about Iran.
That were under threat. Besides the war, we have a lot of information that Russians in the east of Ukraine might be seriously killed. United States did not have this kind of vital interest in Iranian conflict.
They claimed that they were under immediate threat.
Second is that Russian people, Russian population of my country, together with the leadership, they are standing behind very seriously of what we are doing in Ukraine. This is it's important thing. It's important thing, and it is not the case for the United States. And we have very clear goals of our operation, which has been publicly announced, and they haven't changed. The U.S. didn't do the same, at least.
Well, and the parallels are there for everybody to see. You know, it's an illegal war that you have launched in Ukraine, and that is exactly how many have described America's war in Iran. But we're not going to agree on that. So
about illegality of this war, everybody is pronouncing. I mean, on Iran, it is a legal war. Absolutely.
Yeah, and many say the same thing about Russia's war in Ukraine. But, you know, I don't expect you to agree with me on that. So let me just ask you, why then Russia keeps targeting Ukrainian cities, civilian infrastructure? That is a war crime.
We are targeting only military infrastructure. As for the civilian victims, you are publishing only one story, what has been done in Ukraine. But you know that in the recent week in Belgorod, and this is a region adjacent to Ukraine, Ukrainian drones killed 8 people and 30 has been wounded. A week before, it has been done with the British missiles, Storm Shadow.
Right, well, every day Russia attacks the railways in Ukraine, including passenger trains. You launched huge daytime drone attacks yesterday. You killed 5, and you hit a UNESCO-protected church in central Lviv and residential flats, 2 maternity hospitals in Ivano-Frankivsk, and a large block of flats in Dnipro. So, I mean, we can trade these figures, but let me appeal to your self-interest, because this is costing the Russian people and the Russian economy, the Russian military, very dear, isn't it?
You know, we know it much better than you, believe me.
You feel this pain.
Thinking, and not everybody is not happy about that, believe me. But we have a clear goals, and of course we have to achieve these goals. If someone believes here that Ukraine will have a chance to win something, so if this is a kind of a self-inflicted hypnosis, I will say.
But I mean, let me just go
Ukraine
back.
is losing, steadily losing, and to invest into the losing situation, into the losing country, that's a grave mistake, I will say.
Let me just go back to the start of that answer, because you admitted that you, Russia, are feeling the pain of this war.
Yeah, we do. Sure,
Yeah,
yes.
no longer a special military operation, but a war. I mean, just in 4 days this month, Russian forces reportedly sustained more than 6,000 casualties.
No.
You've suffered 1.2 million casualties since
It
February
is,
2022. That is the
overall,
largest for any major power in any conflict
Katie,
since World War II.
What you are saying is wrong, because at the moment, and for already about a month, there is no serious movements over there. Yes, we do keep initiative, but this is, just imagine, this is early spring, late winter, and its roads are absolutely terrible situation.
So you always
melting.
find this time of year difficult?
Snow is melting, but after that, as soon as roads will become better and we will have some leaves, the offensive on our side will continue.
Right, so you will redouble your offensive in the coming weeks?
I do believe, yes. I don't have plans of the general staff, but I can imagine that it's going to happen like that.
But 1.2 million casualties since the start of the full-scale invasion. That's more than any other major power in any conflict since World War II.
I have done many interviews when I have said that about the casualties, it belongs to the knowledge of the general staff and Ministry of Defense. I do not discuss.
I know you don't know the figure, but people have calculated that, and that is what they've said. I just want to come back to your admission that you are feeling this pain. Will you acknowledge that there is war fatigue in Russia?
I would better say that there is much more confidence among people in what we are doing, and of course, probably it's a long term. So I do not deny it. It is, but because we are fighting against the whole might of the European Union, NATO, and all of that, and they are just it's a proxy war.
Without much American
help. It's a
help.
kind of proxy war on behalf of which are being done. The damage is terrible to the Ukraine. This is what is worrying us much more, because our economy is quite sustainable, I will say.
GDP is 2.1% lower today, the president's announced. I mean, you're feeling this economically too.
No, economically, I will tell you that in the recent 3 years we have made 10% of GDP growth. And of course, after that there is a period of a certain cooling down. It is inevitable. The target is to make a GDP growth 3 to 5% in the next years. And we have all means. We need certain stimulation for the economy, but I guess it is very far to say right now and premature to say that economy is in a crisis.
But I've heard something very interesting from you today that I haven't heard before. That is, you accept that this war has been going on a long time, that there is a sense of fatigue amongst the population. So will you try and bring this to a close in some way? Or are you still demanding complete surrender from Ukraine?
Katie, please do not implement words that I haven't said. I haven't said about the fatigue.
You said it had been going on a long time.
A long time.
And people were feeling the pain.
That is true. I have said that it is going for quite a long time. And I have said that we have to meet the whole might of the European Union, Western countries.
And you said your people were feeling the pain every day.
It is long. That is why it is quite long. But we will do it. We will do it. I'm sure that we will do it.
So still complete surrender from Ukraine.
In these goals that has been established and pronounced by the president, there is no complete surrender of Ukraine. But we cannot leave leadership of Ukraine if they will continue the same policy of discreditation of Russians, of being an instrument of offense against Russia. We cannot keep Ukraine in this situation. We need a good neighborhood with Ukraine.
Ukraine's president says that territorial issues can only be settled in a trilateral meeting with your own president, President Trump, and Ukraine's president. Why won't Vladimir Putin agree to that? What's he afraid of?
We do not need Americans to settle that. What Vladimir Putin has said, and I absolutely agree with him, either we reach this goal diplomatically or we reach this goal by military means. If we will not be able to do this diplomatically, then we will reach it by the military means. I do not know why, perhaps this summer.
A review into foreign financial meddling in British politics has been published today by the former senior civil servant Philip Rycroft. He identifies a persistent problem of foreign influence seeking to exert influence and to interfere in British politics. Is Russia going to find it trickier to meddle in British politics now with this clampdown looming?
On whose behalf we were going to meddle? Conservative or Labours or Greens or reformers saying anti-Russian things as well as all the others.
But you know that you meddled with the Reform UK leader in Wales, Nathan Gill. He was paid to deliver pro-Russian speeches,
well,
wasn't he?
There was some crazy guy who has done. I heard his name from some newspaper, but it is no interest for us. We have no
You've
friends.
never met him?
We have no friends in your country, political friends in serious parties. So it's a nonsense to say that we are meddling in what?
So no friends in Reform UK?
No, I haven't met any person from Reform UK, and I'm here 6.5 years, and I haven't seen anyone from Reform.
Ambassador Kelin, thank you very much.
Thank you, Katie.